Welcome back to home practice and this groundwork video. This is the fourth in the mini-series of translation shorts. Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a white female dancer in her 30s. I have shoulder length, wavy brown hair, reddish brown hair. I am wearing blue jogging bottoms and a navy hoodie, and I'm sat in my wheelchair in dance studio with wooden floor and pale blinds behind me. So this video is the fourth one of a mini-series of translation shorts. If you've already watched the others and you want to skip the introduction, just head to the next timestamp when we start looking at the movement. But if this is the first one that you've watched, then I'll give you a brief introduction. So we're looking at translating movement from one dancer to another dancer with a different physicality. And to help us with this, we are using the translation tools where I've broken it down into 4 different areas to look at. If you want a bit more detail for this, I introduced this in the first translation video, and there is a link in the description you can click on and start from the beginning with finding more about these translation tools. But for now, I will remind you that the 4 different areas are intention and energy or effort, spine and direction, quality and rhythm, and then finally detail and focus. And in a technique class, you might find that or quite often you'll find, you don't have time to look at all of those, but you may well be able to pick 1 or 2, probably the intention plus something else. But in a choreographic setting, usually there's more time. It's more about finding some cohesion and some unity between diverse bodies. So you can work through all of those different layers, and that's what we're going to do with our movement now. Christian is a tall dancer, but he starts crouching down, balanced on the balls of his feet. He bounces around to turn a half turn, and a full turn before splatting. So if we look at the first area to translate, then that is intention and the effort and energy. And if we look generally starting with the intention or the overall sort of base idea of what that movement is, what you initially get from the movement, then it's pretty much a turn, but in 3 sections. So it's a half turn, and then a full turn. So that's the main kind of baseline for the movement. So we're going to see Nadenh now do his version of that, just thinking about the sort of face value of the movement. Nadenh is sat in his wheelchair, gripping his wheels. He turns a half turn, another half turn, and then a full turn to come back to the diagonal. So we've got the base there. We've got the same amount of turns, a half, and a full turn, but there's a lot more detail in Christian's movement that we can pick up on if we've got time to look at these different layers. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the direction. Again, we've probably got that one sorted because it's a turn, so we were already thinking about that. But the spine is something that really does help to differentiate between different kinds of turns. So let's look at Christian's movement again and see what his spine is doing. Christian is crouching down, but with an upright spine. As he bounces round, there's a bit of a twist in his shoulders before he splats with his spine horizontal to the floor. So then we're going to take that movement in the spine, the slight starting upright, but slight twist in the shoulders, and then the finishing with the spine horizontal splat towards the floor. And Nadenh is going to add that on top of his movement. Nadenh starts upright in his chair as he twists, his shoulders twists half, half, and then complete turn, spine horizontal to the floor. So we've got a bit more detail and shape to the movement then. With the spine, it can change a turn quite a bit. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's more. Then the next thing that we're going to look at is the rhythm and the quality of the movement and how this changes the overall feel of the movement. We're going to look at Christian's movement again first. Christian starts squatted and then prepares, he bounces up and down, spiral and finishes with a splat. So with Nadенh's translation thinking about the spine, although he finished with his spine kind of horizontal to the floor, he didn't quite have that same splat quality that Christian had. So it's kind of a little bit difficult to achieve with stopping the chair and then finding that momentum still to splat, but it's there. So let's have a look at this next variation. So Nadenh starts upright in his wheelchair, and then as he turns, he bounces his front wheels up and down, final one, and then splats. So with that version, to add the quality, it's not just thinking about the turn going round, but there's also that bounce. And Nadenh was able to recreate that by bouncing his front wheels up and down as he went round. That gives that moment of elevation, but also the impact onto the floor. And then finishes with much more force and a kind of fall into that splat at the end. So we're almost there. There's just the final little bits of detail that we want to pick up on to just get as much of a unity between these two movements as possible. So last time, we're going to look at Christian's movement and see what detail you can pick up on. And it might be something different to what I suggest, but have a good look. So Christian starts in a crouched balance, slowly draws his hands back, and then his head whips first before he bounces round, and splats. So there's just a very subtle difference there with the focus. For this one, Christian looks first before he then turns. And that just gives a little bit of difference between that and either turning and letting the focus follow, or keeping the spine and the focus together and moving at the same time. So we're going to see the final version of Nadehn's one, and he's going to add in both that focus looking first and also that slow prepare of the hands before setting off. So, starting upright in his chair, Nadenh slowly draws one hand back to prepare, sends his focus round to bounce, and bounce all the way round to splat. So that's the final version, and if we look at the two together, one after the other or side by side, then we can see that there's much more cohesion between the two moves, and there's some of the little detail makes quite a difference, the spine and the overall feel. And it's something that maybe you don't always notice to start with, but once it's added, it makes a real difference. So I hope this mini-series on translation shorts has been useful. Remember as well, there's no right or wrong answer. These are just what we came up with in the studio. These are our suggestions. You might look at these movements and pick out different bits of quality or different detail, or putting it onto a different physicality and draw different things out. But these are just ideas to get you looking deeper at movement, drawing out things and exploring how it can work on a different body with a different physicality. I hope they've been useful. Do remember to click to subscribe onto our home practice to keep up to date with all of our videos that we release, and please do like the video if you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.